The colossal Imperial Armada drifted through space like a swarm of steel predators. Admiral Kor stood tall on the bridge of his command ship, gazing at the stars beyond the viewport. His scaled fingers clenched the railing as he observed the planet below. One more world for the Empire's banner. One more species to kneel before Imperial supremacy. For over 3,000 years, the Galactic Empire had reigned unchallenged. Their plasma weapons could vaporize any defense. Their energy shields could repel any strike. No civilization had endured against them for long. Today it would be no exception. "Admiral, the planet has issued a surrender," said his comms officer. The blue-skinned alien's voice dripped with boredom. This had become procedure. Most worlds folded without resistance. "Excellent. Begin the standard sequence," Kor said. His four eyes swept across the tactical map. 50 Imperial cruisers ringed the defenseless globe. The natives possessed only crude rockets and primitive projectiles. They would either submit or be wiped out. Suddenly, alarms blared across the bridge. The nav officer lifted his gaze from the console, confusion flashing in his wide dark eyes. "Admiral, we have an unidentified object. Large ship inbound from Sector 7. Kor turned toward the main screen. "Display it." The image shifted to an empty expanse. Then something unreal occurred. Space itself twisted and warped. A rift tore open, and through it emerged a craft absent from Imperial archives. The ship was massive, nearly matching Kor's own flagship. But while Imperial vessels were sleek and refined, this one was menacing. All jagged edges and thick composite armor, bizarre energy signatures pulsed from its hull. Most startling of all, it was made from alloys and ceramics, not the energy-based materials favored by the Empire. "What is that monstrosity?" Kor barked. His tactical officer scrambled across his panel. "Unknown, Admiral. No matches found. Its structure is completely alien. The energy profile is unlike anything we've encountered." Inside the foreign vessel, Captain Jake Morrison stood firm on his own bridge. The human calmly observed the enemy fleet with measured blue eyes. His crew remained at their posts. They had ventured farther from Earth than any human in history. "Well, here they are," said Navigator Lisa Bell. Her fingers moved quickly across her console, examining the alien armada. 50 ships in a textbook blockade setup. Chief Engineer Tom Bradley added from his console, "Captain, those ships are emitting energy levels far beyond our projections. Clearly, they've mastered this for ages." Weapons Officer Kate Hughes watched her screen closely. "Their weapons are hot, but they're not targeting us yet. Still focused on the surface." Communications Tech, Ryan Cole, lifted his head. "Captain, I'm intercepting chatter between their fleet and the planet. I can't decode the language, but the tone suggests threats." Morrison gave a slight nod. "Looks like we've walked into an invasion. Lisa, position us between their fleet and the planet." "Ryan, try to open communications." Admiral Kor watched as the alien vessel moved with uncanny precision despite its jagged design. "Comes hail that ship. Standard Imperial protocol." The comms officer sent the customary message. It was short and authoritative. "Immediate surrender required. Obey Imperial law. Prepare to be boarded." Back on the human ship, Ryan Cole worked to decipher the incoming alien message. After some time, he looked up, expression tight. "Captain, I've got the general idea. They're ordering us to surrender." Morrison arched an eyebrow. "Is that so? Then, I guess it's our turn. Open a channel." The signal reached Kor's flagship. Strange words poured through the speakers in a tongue unfamiliar to Imperial systems. Translators worked to extract meaning. "We mean no harm, but will defend. Ourselves, if needed." Kor's blood chilled. In 3,000 years, no race had dared speak as equals to the Empire. This vessel was either absurdly bold or suicidally naive. "Admiral," said the tactical officer, "the ship has moved between us and the planet. Defensive posture, maybe?" Kor examined the readings. One ship, facing 50. Whoever was aboard must be mad. "Very well. They want to play hero." Comes deliver the final demand. Submit or be eliminated. The message reached the humans. Morrison heard Ryan's version and gave a slow headshake. They're really not listening. Tom, system check. All systems green. Captain Shields at max. Armor ready for long-term engagement. Railguns online. Kate, target their lead vessels, but hold fire unless provoked. We're still aiming for peace. Admiral Core received another response. More talk of peace and protection. He'd heard enough. Tactical. Select 3 destroyers. Use suppression beams minimum setting. We want hostages, not debris. 3 destroyers advanced. Their sleek frames shimmered as they neared the human ship. Inside, alien crews readied weapons that had never once failed. Suppression beams fired, searing blasts of energy that crippled anything they struck slammed into the human vessel. But something unheard of occurred. The beams scattered across the armored hull, leaving it untouched. On the Imperial flagship, the tactical officer double-checked his console. Admiral, no effect. Beams failed. No damage. Korik felt a pulse of dread through his body. Unthinkable. Suppression tech worked on all known ships. Increase output. Fire again. The second volley was twice as intense. Energy struck the alien ship and again dispersed uselessly. Inside, the Unzi Defiance. The crew barely noticed the hit. Their weapons can't break our barriers, Tom said. The magnetic dispersal is working flawlessly. Morrison watched as more Imperial vessels moved in. Well, they've made their choice. Kate, railguns locked. Standing by, Captain. Ryan, send a final message. Let them know this is their last exit. The warning reached Admiral Korik just as the fleet finalized attack positions. He ignored the message entirely. No lesser race could possibly harm the Empire. Fleet, open fire, race that ship. 50 Imperial warships, unleash destruction. Plasma blasts and disruptor beams flooded the void with death. The barrage could have obliterated a small A's. The blazing light faded. The human ship remained untouched. Captain Morrison stared at his unharmed vessel and made a choice that would alter galactic history forever. Kate, return fire. First railgun slug from the human ship launched with a speed that stunned the Imperial forces. A dense metal rod, no wider than a tree trunk, accelerated by magnetic coils to nearly light speed, slammed into the lead Imperial destroyer. Before anyone could react, the sheer kinetic force exceeded anything the Empire had ever faced. Destroyer's shields optimized for plasma and energy blasts were useless against high-velocity matter. The slug pierced the shield, the hull, and exited clean through in the blink of an eye. The destroyer convulsed, then disintegrated as gaping ruptures tore its structure apart. Air burst into vacuum while panicked crew members rushed for escape modules. In under half a minute, a once mighty warship was reduced to drifting debris. Admiral Korik stared blankly at his tactical screen, overwhelmed. The data defied logic. What was that? How did they destroy a destroyer in a single shot? His officer tapped furiously at his panel. Admiral, it was some type of physical projectile. Traveled at absurd velocity. Our shields failed. Because it wasn't an energy weapon, that can't be. No advanced race uses kinetic arms in space. They're obsolete, inelegant, crude. Yet there it was, the shattered frame of an elite ship destroyed by what looked like a speeding hunk of metal. Oh. On the human bridge, Kate Hughes had already locked in her next victim. Direct hit. Target neutralized. One reloading now. Captain Morrison studied the chaos unfolding. They're confused. Clearly not used to solid ammunition. Engineer Tom Bradley monitored defensive integrity. Captain, incoming fire is ineffective. Kinetic shields and layered armor are holding strong. Navigator Lisa Bell observed shifting formations. They're attempting to box us in, sir. Standard encirclement maneuver. Admiral Korik pushed past his stunned state and barked commands. Maintain distance at all costs. Use long-range plasma fire. Keep that thing away from our lines. The fleet dispersed, forming a wide ring around the human ship. Searing bolts of plasma lit up the dark, hammering the UN ship from all sides. The plasma, hot enough to incinerate steel, splashed uselessly across human shielding, magnetic fields. Absorbed the brunt, and reactive armor swallowed the rest. Inside the ship, the crew barely registered the blasts. "Their weapons are laughably weak against us," Tom said. "It's like they're throwing flashlights at a tank." Kate Hughes didn't flinch as she aligned the next shot. Second. Target acquired, Railgun Bay 2, firing. Another slug ripped through space. The targeted destroyer attempted evasive maneuvers, but it was far too slow. The shot tore through the engine core, igniting a plasma detonation that obliterated the ship's entire aft section. 2 kills, Kate reported, calm as ever, rearming both railgun bays. On the flagship, Korik felt something alien to him, raw, biting fear. After centuries of victory, his fleet was being dismantled by alien tech he couldn't comprehend, while his own firepower achieved nothing. "Sir?" "The fleet is in panic," his comms officer said. "Several commanders are urgently requesting permission to retreat." "Retreat?" Korik's voice cracked in disbelief. "The Imperial Navy does not retreat from savages." A third railgun shot obliterated another cruiser, then a fourth. The human ship. ... Contact the Imperial fleet. "Captain, they're still demanding our surrender. They clearly don't realize what's happening." Morrison exhaled. "They've probably never lost a space engagement. This is outside anything they've experienced." The Imperial ships began fracturing their lines as fear spread. Some advanced, hoping short-range firepower would succeed. Others retreated, trusting distance to shield them. The one synchronized assault unraveled completely. K. Hughes took full advantage of the chaos. Multiple targets locked. Firing. All railgun bays in succession. 4 slugs launched in quick bursts, each connected perfectly. 4 additional Imperial ships erupted into expanding storms of shrapnel and vapor trails. Lisa Bell turned from her console. "Captain, there." Pulling back, multiple ships accelerating away at maximum velocity. Admiral Korik watched his formation collapse. In under 15 minutes, 8 destroyers were eliminated by a single adversary. The rest were scattering or preparing to flee. His tactical officer glanced up, wide-eyed. "Admiral, our weapons are useless against their shields. Their shots destroy us instantly. Victory is no longer possible." Kor felt centuries of Imperial pride crumbling beneath him. In all the Empire's storied rule, they had never faced an unstoppable foe. The idea itself was unthinkable. "Sir," said his comms officer, "the alien ship is transmitting again." A human voice, clear and firm, came through the translator. "Imperial fleet, this is Captain Morrison of the UN's Defiance. We don't wish to destroy more of your forces. Withdraw now, and no further blood needs to be shed." Korik stared at the screen, where the jagged human craft hovered untouched. Amidst the debris of his warships, behind it, the planet they'd sought to subjugate remained untouched. "Admiral," his tactical officer said softly, 18% of our fleet is gone. The rest are awaiting orders." And so, for the first time in his long service, Admiral Korik issued a command he'd once believed unimaginable. "All vessels fall back to the system's edge. Defensive formation only." The surviving Imperial cruisers retreated, their sleek armor catching the light of the local sun. Aboard each ship, alien officers struggled to comprehend the disaster. Morrison observed the Imperial withdrawal, emotions mixed. Could have gone smoother. But at least they're leaving. Ryan Cole added, "We're receiving dozens of signals from the surface. They sound like celebrations." Morrison gave a small nod. "I suppose we stopped a conquest. The real question is, what now? We just made enemies with what looks like a galactic superpower." Tom Bradley scanned his systems. "Captain, we've only expended 12% of our payload. Status is optimal. Can continue combat if necessary." "Let's hope it doesn't come to that," Morrison replied. "Kate, keep target locks on their fleet, but do not engage unless fired upon. Lisa, plot a return trajectory to Earth. Command needs a full debrief." Admiral Korik remained on the bridge, transfixed by the alien vessel that had appended everything he believed about war. Somewhere far in the dark reaches of space, The Empire was beginning to realize it no longer ruled unchallenged. The word spread faster than Korik had ever imagined. Across the stars on a thousand worlds, alien civilizations long held beneath. Imperial rule heard news they'd once thought unthinkable. The Empire had suffered defeat. A lone, unknown vessel had destroyed 8 Imperial warships and driven off an entire battle group. On Zentara Prime, the Imperial capital, Emperor Valdris stood in silence as the report arrived. The ageless monarch had ruled for over 2 millennia and had never heard of an Imperial retreat. His crimson eyes burned with fury as he reviewed the facts. "Summon Admiral Korik at once," he ordered, "and bring General Fane Korith. This is a crisis." Soon, the Emperor's council chamber was filled with the top minds in the Empire's military. Star charts lined the walls, illustrating 3,000 years of conquest. Crimson markers dotted every world under Imperial rule. Not once had those marks ever been challenged, till now. When Admiral Korik entered, his uniform scorched from battle, the Emperor's rage was palpable. "Explain how a lone primitive ship destroyed 8 destroyers." Korik stood stiff, shame carved into his scaled features. "Your Majesty, their technology is beyond anything we've faced. They fire solid projectiles at staggering speeds. Our energy shields cannot intercept them. Solid projectiles." General Korith stepped forward, towering four-armed strategist with ghost pale skin. He was the Empire's most seasoned commander. "That's ancient warfare. No advanced species still uses kinetic arms." "Ancient or not, they're effective," Korik replied. "Our plasma weapons did nothing. Their defenses absorbed everything." Emperor Valdris watched the combat feed on a towering display. The human ship moved with eerie discipline, destroying Imperial vessels with ruthless precision. "What intelligence do we have on these humans?" "Very little, Majesty. They arrived using a form of faster-than-light travel we've never seen. Their vessel's design suggests they originate beyond the galaxy or from uncharted space." Meanwhile, within the Sol system, Morrison's report had reached Earth via quantum channels. Admiral Helen Stone stood in the command hub of the United Nations Space Force, reading the data, deeply unsettled. "A galactic empire," she said aloud. "They control thousands of worlds, and we just wiped out 8 of their ships." President Andrew Miller appeared via encrypted link from Washington. "Admiral, what's our response? Can we defend Earth if they retaliate?" Admiral Stone reviewed the defense grids around Earth. "Mr. President, we have a dozen vessels in progress. Our kinetic systems outperform theirs, but they have overwhelming numbers across the stars." "Then we play smart," Miller responded. "What's Captain Morrison's suggestion?" "He recommends making contact with other species under Imperial control. If the Empire has enemies, we must find them and form alliances." Dr. Emma Foster, Earth's top xenotech expert, had analyzed Morrison's findings. "The Empire's flaw is clear," she told the Council. "They rely solely on energy-based tech. They've never encountered kinetic warfare. Can they adapt?" asked Admiral Stone. "Eventually," Foster said. "But overhauling their military will take years. For now, we hold the advantage." In deep Imperial space, General Korith was drawing his own conclusions. Unlike Korik, he took the humans seriously. He pored over every report, diagram, and data point from the engagement. "They rely solely on projectiles," he told his officers. "No energy emissions from weapons. Their vessel is built like a fortress meant to take punishment, not avoid it." A junior officer, blue-skinned and wide-eyed, raised a troubling point. "General, how do we counter weapons that ignore our defenses?" "We evolve," Korith replied. "The Empire has ruled 3,000 years because we learned from our enemies. These humans revealed something new, and we will adapt." Throughout the galaxy, news of the Imperial defeat spread to conquered worlds. On the mining colony Kepler 7, alien laborers spoke in hushed tones about the strange humans who dared defy the Empire. On New Harvest, an agricultural world, farmers glanced skyward, wondering if liberty was possible. The Zephyrian Council, one of the few civilizations to retain partial autonomy, convened an emergency session. Their homeworld had escaped total imperial rule through delicate negotiation, but always under threat. If these humans can defeat imperial ships, council leader Vex told his delegates, perhaps we should open communications. That's dangerous, warned his advisor. The Empire deems such outreach as betrayal. The Empire is no longer untouchable, Vex replied. For the first time in 3,000 years, we glimpse hope. Meanwhile, on Earth, colossal shipyards orbiting the moon operated without pause. The dozen warships under development received critical upgrades drawn from Morrison's combat data-larger railguns, tougher armor, and enhanced kinetic deflectors. Admiral Stone met with President Miller and global leadership. We likely have 6 months before the Empire returns in force. Must be prepared. And Morrison's idea for allies? The President asked. We're dispatching diplomatic probes. If there's resistance within Imperial space, we must reach it. A solo war against their empire is unwinnable. General Korith's preparations neared completion. Omega, the largest strike force in Imperial memory, assembled at the Fortress Planet Titan base. 500 vessels, many featuring the Empire's most advanced war tech. We'll track the humans and eliminate them, Korith stated during his briefing with Emperor Valdris. They caught Korik off guard, but they won't catch me. The Emperor nodded gravely. Then do not fail, General. The Empire's pride is at stake. Captain Morrison and the Un's Defiance remained stationed in the defended system, communicating with the grateful world below. The locals were humanoid, smaller, with green skin and wide dark eyes. They called themselves Kelvins. You saved our people, said their leader via translator. The Empire would have enslaved us. We couldn't stand by and do nothing, Morrison replied. But you must know they'll return, and in greater numbers. Then we'll fight beside you, the Kelvin leader declared. Freedom is worth any sacrifice. As Morrison turned toward the stars, he sensed that the true war was only beginning. Humanity had introduced itself to the cosmos with a thunderclap. Now it would have to prove it could endure the storm ahead. In the vast dark beyond, two vast armadas prepared for battle. A collision loomed, one that would decide the fate of the stars. Unchallenged imperial rule was ending, and the era of humanity was about to begin. 6 months after first contact, 12 human warships emerged from hyperspace near the Proxima Nebula. A colossal storm of gas and dust spanned light years, an ideal staging ground for what Admiral Morrison now called Operation Starfall. The human navy had expanded since that first clash. The Un's Defiance still flew under Morrison's flag, but now he commanded 11 more ships. The heavy cruiser Un's Retribution, under Captain Sam Parker, was led by a former submarine officer well-versed in stealth. The carrier Un's Liberty, led by Captain Nicole Gray, housed squadrons of strike craft designed for rapid engagements. All ships. This is Admiral Morrison, he addressed the fleet. Intelligence confirms General Korith's battle group. Omega is en route from the Galactic Core. 500 Imperial vessels, including new dreadnoughts. Captain Parker's voice came over. Comes. Admiral, we're taking on 500 ships with 12. Not directly, Morrison replied. We'll use the nebula against them. The gases distort their sensors, but our quantum networks keep us linked. The Proxima, nebular remnant of a long-dead star, was dense with ionized clouds that disrupted conventional scans. The Empire, reliant on long-range energy detection, would be nearly blind. But humanity, forged in the murky depths of Earth's oceans, was at home in obscurity. Lieutenant Commander Alex Turner led a squadron of 4 nimble destroyers, smaller but faster than the main fleet. Admiral, he called, our scouts confirm Imperial vessels entering from 3 directions. They're attempting a full encirclement. On his flagship, the dreadnought Eternal Victory, General Korith stood firm. The massive warship dwarfed any human vessel, bristling with the strongest plasma artillery in the fleet. Around him, 500 warships advanced in unified precision. Nebula's disrupting our sensors, his tactical officer reported. We've got visibility only a few thousand clicks out, and we flush them, Korith responded. Form search patterns. Once located, we'll crush them with overwhelming force. Imperial ships fanned out across the nebula, their sleek hulls gliding like phantoms through technicolor vapor. But they were hunting prey that refused to follow expected rules.
Captain
Parker's UNS Retribution exploited the nebula's electrical interference to conceal its approach. The heavy cruiser slipped soundlessly through thick clouds until it had a clear shot at an unaware Imperial group. Target locked, reported his weapons officer. 3 cruisers. 5,000 clicks. Fire all batteries, Parker ordered. The railgun rounds screamed across space in an instant. The lead Imperial cruiser erupted, shredded by the speeding slug. The second tried to pivot, but was disabled by a catastrophic hit to its engine. The third ship managed to raise shields, but the slug sliced through the barrier like it wasn't even there. Before the enemy could respond, UNS Retribution melted back into the fog. What happened? General Korth barked, stunned by incoming reports. How were 3 ships destroyed without a trace? Sir, the enemy is using the nebulas to mask their movements. Our scanners can't track them through the gas. At the same time, Captain Gray's UNS Liberty launched her fighter wings. The small human craft were built for just this kind of fight. They flitted through the clouds like insects too small for Imperial sensors to detect easily. The fighters located an isolated group of Imperial destroyers and struck from multiple vectors. Though their light rail guns couldn't destroy the warships outright, they targeted engines and weapon ports. The Imperial ships found themselves besieged by attackers they couldn't even see. Lieutenant Commander Turner's destroyers operated in coordinated packs, applying tactics taken from Earth's wolves. His group of 4 ships struck in unison, sharing data through quantum relays and hammering Imperial targets from multiple sides. This is Turner to all units, he ordered. Focus fire on battleship at 77 Alpha. Fire on my mark. 4 railgun rounds slammed into the Imperial battleship almost simultaneously. The warship, armored to withstand energy strikes, simply collapsed under the kinetic assault. Its hull split open like fragile glass, spilling crew and atmosphere into the void. General Korth stood frozen, watching icons vanish from his tactical readout. In just 2 hours, he had lost 30 ships, many of them without ever laying eyes on the enemy. Sir, his comms officer called out, incoming message from the human fleet. Admiral Morrison's voice filled the bridge. General Korth, this is Admiral Morrison of the United Nations Space Force. Your fleet is outmatched here. I offer terms. Withdraw your remaining forces. Korth's scales tightened in rage. Respond. Tell him the Empire does not bargain with primitives. Understood, came Morrison's reply. We will proceed. The battle escalated fast as human ships emerged from the nebula's depths in swift, coordinated attacks. The UNS Defiance broke through a gas plume directly behind Korth's flagship railguns primed and tracking. Morrison's tactical officer shouted, "Dreadnought dead ahead, weapons locked." Morrison gazed at the colossal vessel. It had its own grim elegance, a monument to 3 millennia of conquest. Fire all batteries, he ordered. 6 kinetic slugs screamed into the eternal victory, striking along its length. The dreadnought's shields flared, then failed under the sheer force. Cavernous holes ripped through its hull as the slugs tore through bulkheads. Korth felt the tremors shake the bridge. Alarms shrieked as air vented into space. But the situation was hopeless. Sir, his aide shouted. The ship's breaking apart. We must abandon her. Korth turned to the display one final time. Across 100 Imperial ships had fallen, destroyed by an enemy unlike any the Empire had ever faced. 12 human warships had dismantled a fleet built over centuries, using unfamiliar tactics and brutal efficiency. Signal the fleet, Korth said at last. Full retreat. All vessels returned to Imperial space. The damaged survivors limped from the nebula, leaving twisted wreckage behind. For the second time in history, the Empire had been defeated by humanity. Admiral Morrison stood on his bridge, watching them go. Status report, he ordered. Responses came fast. Every ship was operational. Minor damage, no casualties. They're heading toward their core systems. reported Captain Gray. Morrison nodded. Let them run. Message delivered. The Battle of Proxima Nebula was over. The mighty Imperial fleet had fallen to human resolve and creativity. Across the stars, suppressed worlds heard a new truth: the Empire could bleed, and it could be beaten. News of Court's failure spread like fire. On worlds long under Imperial command, uprisings began. The illusion of invincibility was shattered. Suddenly, the Empire was fighting rebellions across dozens of systems. In the throne room of Zentara Prime, Emperor Valdris stared at data feeds pouring in from crumbling sectors. His eyes dimmed. Another 3 systems had declared independence this week. Garrisons overwhelmed, fear was gone. Majesty said. His chief advisor? Perhaps we should negotiate. Silence followed. In 3,000 years, no one had dared speak such words. Arrange a meeting, Valdris said finally. Not here. Somewhere neutral. The historic talks were held on Harmony. Station a trading post between territories. Ambassador Claire Roberts led the human team. The Empire sent senior envoys, but the real authority sat with Admiral Morrison. Opposite him stood Chancellor Vex, tall and silver-skinned, an administrator of conquest now forced to negotiate in defeat. We are open to terms, Vex said, his voice still steeped in command. We suggest dividing the galaxy. Imperial control of our core. You rule your space. Ambassador Roberts was firm. No, you still think you have dominion. We're here for the freedom of every species under your rule. Unacceptable, Vex answered. Without us, there's only chaos, Chancellor Morrison said. You've lost 2 fleets to a race unknown to you 6 months ago. Are you still so confident in your control? The negotiations stretched. On, Imperial minds struggled with human ideals, alliances of equals, shared defense. They believed the strong must rule the weak. That was the natural order. Dr. Emma Foster, Chief Human Tech Advisor, presented hybrid weapon schematics. Your energy systems are refined, she explained, but flawed. Combined with our kinetic advances, the result is superior. Vex blinked. You would share this? Even after war? That's what allies do, Roberts replied. We build something better together. Meanwhile, resistance ignited across the stars. On Forge Prime, factory workers seized shipyards. On Green Valley, food shipments ceased. The Kelvins, saved by Morrison, became humanity's first allies. Their leader, now President Kane, sent vessels and joint missions. Freedom is worth fighting for, he said to 12 rebel world leaders, will light the path for others. Captain Parker, now leading a mixed fleet of former subjects and humans, coordinated attacks on Imperial supply routes. This is Parker, he declared during one such strike. We free, not conquer. Surrendered crews will be respected. Imperial morale collapsed. Once the galaxy's enforcers, they now fought for survival. On Harmony Station, talks neared their climax. Emperor Valdris arrived, his first time leaving homeworld, driven by desperation. I propose a new government, he said to Morrison. Not rule, shared power. Morrison narrowed his eyes. Define it. A galactic council, every species equal. Votes by consensus, not fear. And the oppressed. Roberts pressed. Can they choose independence? Yes, Valdris said. But we hope some choose unity instead. 3 months later, the Terran Accords were signed. The Empire dissolved. The Galactic Cooperative Council was born. Each species retained its own rule and forces. But trade, exploration, and defense became collective. Dr. Foster's tech program launched an age of advancement. Human railguns merged with Imperial plasma shielding, creating the most effective defense systems the galaxy had seen. Morrison, now Earth's representative, stood on the new Council Station's viewing deck. Round him, ships from 100. Worlds came and went in peace. Strange, said Captain Nicole Gray beside him. It all began with one ship appearing from the dark. Morrison smiled. They thought they were the peak. Never imagined someone could think differently. A young officer arrived. 17 new species request membership, sir. Explorers have found them beyond old imperial borders, Morrison nodded. Meet with them all, but remind them we invite, never impose. Years later on a station co-built by humans and former imperial races, children of a dozen worlds played beneath shared stars. Adjusted gravity let them run side by side. Secretary General Roberts, once ambassador, watched them with quiet pride. Beside her, a young Kelvin diplomat stood smiling. My grandfather mined for the Empire, he said. Now I help govern. Under the old order, that was impossible. The new galaxy thrived, buzzing with trade, discovery, cooperation. The ship that appeared from nowhere had not just defeated tyranny, it offered a better way forward. Strength used not for conquest, but protection. On a quiet garden world, Valdris, now citizen, Valden plants and wrote his memoirs. Children sometimes visited. Was the Empire so awful? One human asked. He paused. We thought we were bringing order, he said. But we never asked if chaos might rather be free. Far away, Council explorers reached into uncharted space not to conquer, but to offer friendship. The Empire was gone. The Age of Unity had begun.